Hi, everybody. Welcome to another interview of the ILIAS Espresso series. Let's say summer edition, because we are deep into summer at this time. Matthias Kunkel, General Manager of ILIAS Society, is with us. Hi, Matthias.
Hi, Roberto.
Hi.
How are you?
Everything is fine. I look forward for some holidays, actually,
Yeah.
because then after the holidays, we have the final rush for the 21st ILIAS conference that will be held in Bologna. And we are here with Matthias to underline some of the aspects of the conference, because the call of papers, I think Matthias was very successful. We have a lot of presentations, so the organization had to struggle a little bit, and we will have 4 parallel sessions all the time for the 2 days. So it's very important that the participants select what they would like to look, not only based on the language, of course, because we will have some of the rooms without the simultaneous translation, and we will have the main room with 3 languages, Italian, English, and German. Yeah. But for me, it's very important, Matthias, to underline with you the wide variety. I mean, this is really, when you have an e-learning conference, especially in Italy, it's always talking about why it's good to make e-learning, because we are always at the beginning. We are still at the beginning. So there are many companies using e-learning now, but all the topics that will be touched at the ILIAS conference are really an overview on the state of the art. And I have here the program, the secret program. No, it's not secret, it's online. You can go and look all the time. But I just wanted to mention with you some of the topics, so you can maybe underline some aspect if you like. First of all, I am very happy that we will have the public administration from Italy, from the province of Bolzano, Alto Adige, because they use ILIAS since a lot of time, right?
Yeah. I think they are one of the oldest and longest using institutions in Italy. It's very interesting what they are doing, and I think ILIAS became like a kind of IT backbone for their public administration and public training and vocational training in South Tyrol. So not only for the public administration, but also for schools. So it's a very interesting success story, and I'm very happy that they contribute to the conference, that they will. I think they start in the afternoon on Thursday. We're gonna see and hear what they are doing in
and they have an installation of more of 100,000 users, so it's really a big one at the moment, and we take care from a technical point of view, but they produce all the contents by themselves. So what is very important to underline also is that the province of South Tyrol uses ILIAS to manage obligatory courses. But there are also other presentations about
we have that. I think that's a very important issue, these obligatory courses. This is not something only in public administration, but also in corporate sectors and companies and such organizations. We have also very interesting presentation by very well-known German assurance, LVM. They will show how they gonna do that in their scenario with their project partner. So I think we will have several of these cases, and I think it's quite interesting for the audience to, especially for those from the corporate, to follow those different approaches and how ILIAS could help them in their companies to do that.
Yeah, because one typical situation that we also found in the corporates here is that there is this feeling that you need a specific HR software to manage the repetition of the trainings, the validation of the duration of a training, but it's not true. No. I mean, you can do really everything with ILIAS. So in many medium, let's say, medium companies that they don't need very huge IT systems, ILIAS is more than enough to manage all.
And they could keep the money for, instead of spending it for additional HR systems, which are very, very expensive, talent management and so on. They could keep the money and spend it into improving their training activities. So it's better to invest it into content and support instead of licenses. So especially for the smaller and medium-sized enterprises, ILIAS offers already a lot, in some cases with some add-ons, but we're going to see that in the conference, these different programs.
I think this is very useful for the typical small, medium enterprise, what is called in Italian piccola media industria, and I think in German KMU, kleine und mittlere Unternehmen.
Yeah, exactly.
But because also we have to take in consideration that in Southern Europe, a medium company is probably the size of a small company in Northern Europe, you know. So here, if you think about a company that has 1,000 to 3,000 employees, we consider it big. But it's not really big. I mean, it's absolutely manageable with ILIAS, and you can really integrate ILIAS with other platforms also easily. And this is another topic, for example, because I know, for example, that Marco from the University of Freiburg will show something about integration of
exactly how to combine or how to connect a different platform. Yeah, that's also an important topic at the moment, or for now several years, that you don't see an e-learning installation as only like a kind of an island anymore. You see that it has to be interconnected with other installations. So this is quite an interesting approach to that Marco will present, how to connect several platforms and like building up like a community of platforms and how they could interact and how exchange data and content. So he will present that in Bologna as well. So also for those who are interested in connecting platform or connecting their ILIAS with another system, even if it's not ILIAS, it could also be another learning management system like Moodle. That would be an interesting presentation for them.
And for example, we have customers that use this for let's say the traditional trainings, the HR trainings. They use something else because they are connected with other. But for example, for technical trainings, they use ILIAS because ILIAS is much more advanced in order to compose trainings. And a special example that I would like to underline is from one of the biggest Bologna corporates, that is IMA, in English, IMA. They do pharma machinery. They have really huge customer. I name one because it was very famous during the pandemic times. One of their customers is Pfizer. So you can imagine how many machines they do have to produce for the masks and also for the pills of Pfizer, for the vaccines. And this
I'm very happy that I'm very happy that we have IMA in the conference program, because at least we are in Bologna. So to have a presentation from a company that is located in Bologna and uses ILIAS, very nice. So I'm very happy, looking forward to see what they're going to present us.
And this is interesting because they will present an automation, how to create trainings due to the structure of ILIAS that has a database under the authoring system. This sounds like a technical detail, but if you come to the conference, it will be very easy to understand. But actually, they really make the drafts of their training for the machines semi-automatically based on the list of the components of the machine. So it's very, very interesting application. Let me browse for other interesting stuff. That's something very interesting, is the good morning ILIAS, that maybe is not easy to understand, but it's about diversity, about creating a personalized start, because I know that in Northern Europe, managing an e-learning installation, taking in consideration the different people that have access, for example, language level and so on, is already an issue. So would you like to add something about diversity management, Matthias?
Yeah, at least in Germany, but I think in whole Europe now, diversity is a diversity in e-learning is a very, very important topic, and we have several presentations about diversity. And what you mentioned, the Good Morning ILIAS is one approach. It's just to where you have your own starting point depending on your role and your background. And starting point in ILIAS, but we also have some presentations that show how important it is to follow these diversity rules and guidelines, because what people often think in diversity is just for those with disabilities, but that's wrong. I'm doing a project now for almost a year to improve the German language file to make it easier to understand, and it's easier for everyone. So diversity,
so-called simplified German.
It's really a holistic approach to make things better. And we see also that diversity, following diversity approaches and guidelines, could even make ILIAS more sexy, more interesting, because you are more focused on the needs of your audience. So we will have several of these presentations. Diversity management is one of the 4 main topics of the conference, and for those who are already involved in it, I think there will be interesting stuff. But also for those people coming to Bologna that really are at the beginning of taking care about diversity, they will find quite interesting presentations there.
I think it will be interesting.
Yeah.
Like another topic that is to think about when you start a project, very often you do not take care much about learning analytics, while on the other side, it's important to manage the data. So it's very good that the main sponsor of the ILIAS conference, you will have also a booth in the foyer to talk directly with the American colleagues of IntelliBoard, is one of the best learning analytic platforms to build, let's say, dashboards for administrators or teachers, professors, to know a little bit more, but in an easy way. So also learning analytics is important. It's not only important to fulfill trainings, to give the trainings to the audience, but the more user you have, the more important is to analyze the data easily. Yeah,
also to predict and to suggest learning paths and what could be the next step for an employee to go there. Of course, this is a quite good example, the presentation by IntelliBoard, because we have the combination of a software with ILIAS. So that's something that doesn't take place in ILIAS itself, but ILIAS is then providing the data, and it will be used in IntelliBoard and
and they do have a plugin.
So it shows that you should not, or it's not possible to solve all these the problems in ILIAS and to find related features. Sometimes we need some additional software that is much better for that, and in that case, this is quite an interesting combination of the both. And that will be interesting, and it's great that they are with us in Bologna.
Yeah, and I have a small surprise about that, because the demonstration that we did of course, we needed an Italian ILIAS user that has a good number of users, otherwise you have less to analyze. but it will be a company from Sicily. So
yeah.
it's very surprising. But these guys are really good. They are giving trainings to the university, to a lot of companies and the public administration in Sicily. They are really advanced. And so we look forward to see their application and maybe make a nice visit in Palermo in the next future. Okay. And after Palermo, a little bit more south, it's Iraq. And okay, this is something curious, but in the Middle East, with ILIAS, it was done also in Arabic language, okay? That has a lot of issues because you have to read it on the other side. So for the people coming at the conference, I think it will be very nice to see the NATO presentation. Matthias, you know better than me that ILIAS has a long path of users in the defense sector, right?
Yeah. So ILIAS is the learning management system of NATO. So also on former ILIAS conferences, we already had some presentations from our colleagues from NATO, how they use it. For example, in training, giving training opportunities, information to non-NATO states. Now this Iraqi presentation shows how they build up an e-learning program in Iraq and use the right to left capability of ILIAS, so that Arabic language also could be used there. And it's again a very interesting project by those guys from DEP, because they have very good ideas and roll out and use ILIAS for their approaches, and it's nice.
Yeah, it will be very
I'm very happy that they are there again in the program, and so it gives it also a very international touch, maybe also for the beginning of a success story for the Arabic.
For Italy, it's brand new. It's really completely a prima, let's say. So they never came, the NATO, to present their e-learning in Italy. So it's a very good chance also for public administration to take a look of what happened.
At least we have the NATO school in college in Rome, so it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Let me see other items. I'm just browsing. Virtual reality. We have one of, in my opinion, because they are also nice guys, one of the better provider in Germany is Database for ILIAS, and we will have Sebastian, that is also really a nice guy. He's half German, half Dutch. And he will introduce how to interface ILIAS with virtual reality application, and this is also a big item, right?
Yeah, that's also a topic that comes up from time to time now again. So we had the last real conference in 2019, when we didn't have a virtual one. We had also this nice presentation about virtual reality, and now again 3 years later, technology has improved, and we can see what is now state of the art. So yes, of course, in different areas, virtual reality is a very, very important thing in combination with
because you cannot pretend to do everything inside the LMS.
Of labs or of preparing your work in labs and laboratories and so on, or in dangerous surroundings areas. So that's it's quite a good good technology for that.
And about, let's say, one of the standard that is used to interface a virtual reality application or a gamification or whatever is the XAPI standard. So it's a technical standard, but it's also very important to understand that, to know that you can track activity in training, not only giving a number at the end or a test at the end. Yeah, and we will have also an Italian presentation from Nicola Mastrolilli. Is one of the first experts in Italy about XAPI. So I really invite everyone who is thinking or managing about an e-learning platform in Italy to come and listen to Nicola about the strategy, about the standard of XAPI.
Yeah, and it could be, and for those who are interested in XAPI, there's also a workshop by Uwe Kunkel and his colleagues. So that for those who want to get more in depth, we have the option there to see what is possible with XAPI. Also for those who are not that keen with that technology, it opens also the platform. It's again the same approach that we don't. It's not no longer a closed shop, but open the system, embedding tools and activities from outside the learning management and making available the learning data and use it. And the very interesting thing that makes it really also special, if you are interested in that, is that I think we found a very good way to realize XAPI, use it, and still following the data protection, the GDPR guidelines. Because if you're here, then okay, it's about data. Then you also have to take, well, is the data secure? Who gets access to it? And we have, I think, a very interesting approach how we could put that together. We could combine both best sides of both approaches and have a secure but advanced way of using XAPI. So that would be, I think, one of the technological highlights on the conference.
Fantastic. So again, come to the ILIAS conference. Yeah. It's the first really big e-learning event.
And if you haven't registered yet, do it now. Yeah, and still we have also some let's say some previews on ILIAS 8 and ILIAS, and talk about ILIAS 9, what will come next year. We will have also see a prototype of a very interesting plugin to realize e-exams with ILIAS, where long texts have to be written. With you know, in Germany, a lot of universities use ILIAS for electronic exams,
juristic or literature.
Yeah, and for those which have been written before, where you pen and pencil, pen paper exams, so now they change to electronic ones, and we will see a very nice prototype about how this could be realized, and also we will see how the media cast has been improved for ILIAS 8. Alexander Killing will show how it really has been revised and
very important,
refreshed. It's more like YouTube now than in the past. So it's there will also be some very nice insights for about the new features in ILIAS. So it's worth the travel to a beautiful city, I have to say.
Yeah, you're right. And of course, now we are talking in English because it's an international conference, but I underline as well that we will have some Italian papers for beginners, like the use of ILIAS for beginners, and also how to build up a connection to an online catalog. So to use ILIAS to sell trainings that come from other suppliers. We will have some HR touch, because you have to do, when you do an e-learning project, you have to do a lot of things before switching on the computer. So you have to understand who's the teacher. So we have some Italian presentation, especially for people who are starting to build up a project.
Yeah, I'm very happy that this good. I think it's a really good combination of Italian contributions, of international contributions. We will have slots, as you already mentioned, which are where the presentations are translated to all three languages, or to the other two languages. Let's say in English to Italian and German. But we'll also have workshops. Workshops is difficult to translate. So, but we will have workshops in English, or we will have workshops in Italian language, also some in German. So I think it's quite a good mixture, and everyone, and also the target audience, as you said, like for beginners and for advanced users, or from people from universities, as well as from corporate or public administration. So I think it's quite a good potpourri of contributions within the program.
And as we said at the beginning, we have 4 parallel sessions, so it's really a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Matthias, if you want to add something more. Otherwise, we listen to Ilario if there are some questions.
Yeah.
Ilario, do we have some questions?
Not at the moment. Not at the moment.
Okay. So, fantastic. I think we scrabbled into the program of the ILIAS conference, and
let me maybe still mention we have a very good program, a very good intellectual input, but we also will have, I think, a very nice gourmet input, because we will stay. Our conference will take place at FICO, and which is like what I read, a Disney park for foodies, for food lovers. So if you come to Bologna, you will get some very interesting. You can see some very interesting presentations, workshop, and you will get some great food and wine to bring together head and body.
Yeah, what the world wants from Italy is good food, design, and nice cars. Nice cars you do in Germany as well, but we do better cars.
But cars is not that important anymore.
But so anyway, you're right, Matthias. We have events on the side of the ILIAS conference. So if you go online on the ILIAS conference site or the ilias.it, the Italian website, you will see that there is the opportunity to visit, for example, the Fashion Research Institute in Bologna, that is really interesting about the world of fashion, of fabrics and design. It's really fantastic. I was really surprised when I was there for the preview. And we can have a visit to Ferrari cars in Maranello or Ducati in Bologna, so a touch with the speedy stuff that is Emilia-Romagna and south of Germany. We are the best in the world. Sorry, guys, for all the rest. And then we have also the food part. We decided for FICO because it's a nice place to be, very well organized. And there will be, of course, a wine tasting and a nice gala dinner. So don't forget to book in August, because if you book too last minute, then no dinner available. It will be like that. Okay, thank you, Matthias.
Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
And we see us at the beginning of September.
Yeah, still 6 weeks to go.
6 weeks to go. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.